Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a cute scrappy little pumpkin. This project comes together super fast. All you need is some orange scrap fabric or whatever color you want to make your pumpkin. You'll need a little brown fabric or whatever color you want your stem to be. I have another piece of scrap here. This will be the back of the fabric. And then you need some batting. I have an extra little scrap piece that I'm going to use for the inside of my stem. Then also my main piece that's going to be the size of my pumpkin. And then you don't really need this, but I've got a seam roller. That makes things a lot easier. Same with scissors and rotary cutter. I also decided to print out a pattern and just cut it out so I had something a little easier to trace around. But you could just draw it yourself if you want. But let's get into this super easy, beginner-friendly project. Alright, so this can be done a few different ways. Here is my scrap piece of batting that I'm using. You could use fleece, you could use some like layers of a sweatshirt together. Just something to give it a little thick fluffiness. Now you can either, if you can make it stripy, I want mine to be more scrappy looking. So I'm just going to cut a bunch of chunks off of all my collars to be able to pick out later. I'm going to make them all different sizes. Maybe I'll cut like 5 or 6 of each. Alright, so now I have some piles of all my different fabrics. Now all we have to do is pick 2 pieces of fabric that are about the same size one way or the other. Since this is a jelly roll, they're all 2.5-inch strips. And I did draw a little basic outline on my batting to make sure I make it big enough. We will lay 1 piece of our fabric right side up, kind of line these edges up right side down, and then we are just going to put this under our machine and sew like a 1/4 inch seam allowance on that part that we just lined up. I still like to back stitch at the front and end. And now that we have that, we can push our seam back and use our seam roller, push it down. There's that. Now we can move on to our next piece. So this is about the same size. So we'll put that on there, slide it under, repeat the process. And this is just a basic technique called Quilt-as-you-go, where you sew the fabric directly onto the batting. It's a perfect technique for when you have a bunch of small pieces of scrap fabric that you don't know what to do with. You can just go around doing this. Now that next section's there, we can move on to the next part. And it's okay if you're not using an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance. It is super easy to just keep going. And then to keep from getting Y seams, you can also still sew these right sides together to get the pieces that you want. Still use my seam roller to press this out. I'm going to line this up right here, sew down that part. And now that we have an awkward little seam here, we can go ahead and cut this part off too. Now we've got this kind of little scrappy looking pumpkin so far. So I'm going to sew some down the edge again. I want to cut this piece up a little more. And this is a super beginner friendly project. Super easy to just make it up as you go. I kind of want it to go in this order. I kind of like this fabric here, so we'll put this one on next. And then this is how I want it to line up. Press this seam open. Oh, I'm loving it so far. This is so cute. As you can see where I had drawn around my pumpkin, I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but I still have a line that goes this way and up here, so I kind of do need to cover this whole top section. See my line there, my line here. So I do believe my bottom is covered now. About right there should cover my line when I flip it over. Flip that piece, press it. So now we can do this side over here, and then we'll get the top. Put these 2 together. Then I'm putting this light collar down here so they're not in the same place. So I kind of wanted to start with this long piece. So I'll pull it up. So I kind of want to start this long piece right here, for right there. And then the last little bit, I'll just put that right there. And you can press all of these with an iron if you want as you're going. But this is small enough of a project that I don't really use an iron until I'm completely done. And you can see this is such an easy sewing project to even get kids involved in. They can make their own little pumpkins however they want. Yep, looks good. And we'll flip it down. And now we will sew across this entire top. And that is going to be generally what our pumpkin looks like. So let's set that aside. We'll cut that in a minute. So this is the fabric I chose for my little stem. And I'm just going to draw kind of the shape I want my stem to be and cut that out. And I'm going to grab my little scrap piece of batting that I planned on using for that. And I'm just going to do a quick little around the edge. And I'm just going to cut my batting out from around it. Now let's set that aside for later. So with my pumpkin here, I'm going to make sure that this covers the whole thing. I've decided I want this to be my top. I want this to be the bottom. I'm going to put this kind of centered around where I want it. And I'm just going to draw real quick right around the edge so I can cut this out. And again, while I'm going through and doing this, you guys are liking these fun little tutorials and projects, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. It gives me motivation to keep on making things. But now we are just going to go through, cut the shape of our pumpkin out, and then I'm going to do the same thing to my backing fabric, and I'll be right back. Another piece of this scrap fabric, we are going to make the backing for our stem. We're just going to put these right sides together, and we are going to leave this bottom section open. And we'll just sew around the edge real quick. Cut around the edges. We're going to cut the corner off to get rid of some bulk. Then we just want to flip this right side out. If you have a little point turner tool, that's perfect for this. Alright, now I've got my cute little stem. I'm just going to press it with my seam roller. So now we have our stem, our little pumpkin piece, and now we have the back of our pumpkin piece. So I'm going to put this right side up. We want this to be right side down. It's going to stick out a little bit from the top to make sure we have it in there nice and good. And then this will end up being right side down against our pumpkin. And really you should press this flat, but I just want to make it because I'm excited. We can mostly line up our edges. We can put some clips to help hold things still. Then you're also going to want to leave a section for you to turn it right side out after we're done. Usually you like to leave a flat area. So I think I'm going to leave this area right here because it's the flattest. Usually I would do the bottom of the pumpkin, but I cut a bunch of little divots down there. And I want to keep those straight as I can. And we're just going to start sewing with a nice hefty seam allowance. I'm probably going maybe a little over 1/4 of an inch. Back stitch at the start and end real well so that we can flip it right side out easier later. And I'll back stitch every couple on my stem to make sure it's in there nice and well. And then I'm just going to work my way around the edge. Sometimes on the corners it helps to lift the presser foot if your fabric starts to turn with it. Alright, and I've made it to the end. I'm going to back stitch several times. I'm going to go through and make sure I did pick up all my layers all the way around. So now I'm going to cut some of this bulk off. So right here we can cut this down to closer to 1/4 inch. Corners can get pretty bulky, so we'll cut those down a little bit more. Now we can flip it right side out, nice and easy. Pull our stem out. Oh my god, this is so cute. Grab your little point turner again. And this little point turner tool that I'm using is literally just some like clay tool from the dollar store. So you do not have to have all the fancy tools. You just need something that's kind of pointy. Oh my god, this is so cute. And then now we're going to make sure this is folded in so that we can stitch it shut. I'm just going to use my seam roller on that super well. And then I'm just going to go through, push all my seams down all the way across. My pumpkin's a little lopsided. It's got some problems. I might have messed up on this seam here, but it is still so cute. But it just helps the show. No matter what you do, it'll always come out fun looking. And I'm just going to top stitch about 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around the edge. There we go. Now we have our perfect little pumpkin. We've got the lining on the back. Our hole that we flipped it through is closed up now, but it is all done. Right there we have it again, our cute little pumpkin. We got the back of it. It's this nice little tan. I just love it. It's so cute. It's a little small and awkward, but you know, whatever. It's just gonna hang on my wall. And again, this method is called Quilt-as-you-go. You can make coasters, you can make placemats, you can do a ton with this. If you just look up on Pinterest or something, Quilt-as-you-go, there are a ton of ideas for you to do. I hope you enjoyed this fun little Halloween tutorial. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps give me motivation to keep coming up with more ideas, making fun things. And if you ended up trying this, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to see your versions of little pumpkins. And follow me on my social media channels down below. You can see all the fun projects I've been working on, I've been making. But until next time.